Hello everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. If you are a new viewer, you are most welcome. My name is Lillian, and if you are an old subscriber, thank you for coming back. So in this tutorial, we'll be making this 3-tiered gown for a baby girl. So if this is what interests you, kindly watch to the end and endeavor to click the subscribe button if you've not, and make sure you also like, comment and share. So let's get started. So I'll be using this beautiful crepe material of 1.5 yard. This crepe material is by 60. You can make use of any length of material, just make sure you have enough. So what I have here, I've already cut out what I'll be needing, but I will explain all the steps I went through. For the upper part, I'll be using a basic bodice for a 4 to 5 year old. So I don't need a zipper for it, so I just folded my zipper allowance in. And the neckline that I used a neck width of 2.25 and a neck depth of 2.5 for the front, then 1 inch for the back. And I made sure I added all my allowances at the shoulder and at the down part. The length of this half length is 9 inches. So the full length of the gown itself is 30 inches. When I've taken away 9 inches for the upper part, I'll be left with 21 inches. So you can decide to make this gown a 3-tier or 2-tier gown, but mine is 3. So I'll be dividing the remaining inches by 3. 30 inches minus the upper part of 9 inches is 21 inches. So I divided by 3, and each of the layer is 7 inches. The actual length of each of the layer is 7 inches, but I just added 2 inches to each of the layer for my allowance. So to calculate the width of each length, I'll be calculating with my waist. You can calculate with your hip circumference, but I'm using my waist circumference. For the first layer, I'll be multiplying my waist circumference by 2. My waist circumference here is 22 inches. When I multiply it by 2, I will have 44 inches. That is for the first layer of the gown. So this is 44 inches. If you are making use of your hip measurements, use your hip circumference times 2 or 1.5, depending on the amount of fabric you have. So for the second layer, I'll be multiplying that 44 inches by 2, or you do 1.5, depending on the amount of fabric you have as well. So when I do that, I will have 88 inches. You need to multiply the first one by 2 or 1.5, depending on the one you are using, because it is the width of that first one that will be attaching the second one, and you need to gather it to have at least small gathers. So for the third one, I'll be picking the second measurement and multiply it by 2 as well. If you are using 1.5, make sure you are multiplying by 1.5 as well. So when I multiply mine by 2, I'll be having about 176 inches. So the last one is the longest length, followed by the middle one and the first one. So if you are doing just 2 tiers, you stop at the second one. So like I said, I did mine by 2 inches. If you are doing by 1.5, make sure you follow by 1.5 if you don't have enough fabric. You can as well do by 3, but that will be too much, or that will be too voluminous, if I may say. So for the length, we just calculated the width, but for the length, remember I said it's 21 inches divided by 3. So each of the layers lengths will be 7 inches, but I added 2 inches to each of them, so that I'll be able to serge at the upper part and at the lower part, and I'll still have allowance to join to the other one. So each of them is 7 inches plus 2 inches allowance. So I have 9 inches on the 3 layers. So if you're having 2 layers, you just add your allowance on each of the layer. So I'll go over and weave the top part. That is why I left that 2 inches for my allowance, because if you are overlocking, some of the materials will be cut off, and also I need allowance to join to the upper part. This is the longest layer. As you can see, I have a long strip of material. I had to join my material so that I will get the longest strip. For this one is shorter than the first one. This is the middle layer, and for the first layer, it is not that long. We used our calculation to get all this. So what I will do is that I will serge the upper part and the down part of each of them. Then I will gather the top of each of the 3 layers, leaving the down side open. I will go ahead and divide each of this layer into two because I'll be having front and back of this material. I don't have a zipper, so I will be having it as front and back so that I'll be able to join at the side parts. If you are attaching a zipper, you don't need to open it up into two, but I'll open mine into two. And for my upper part, I will not be having a zipper like I mentioned earlier, so I'll have to create an opening at the back so that the child will be able to put her head through. So this is the front part. As you can see, the neckline for this one is deeper than the neckline for the back. The neck depth for this front is 2.5 inches and that of the back is 1 inch. And the neck width for both of them is 2¼ inches. That is 2.25. So for my back, like I said, I'll have to create an opening of 4 inches. 4 to 5 inches is okay. So I'll be using 4 inches for the opening. If the child is having, let me say, a lot of hair or makes all this updo that will require a lot of space, you can do 5 inches. So I just did 4 inches and I just opened it. And I'll be using a piece of the same fabric just to turn that opening. I will as well cut this fabric by 4 inches, just exactly what we did on the back bodice. 4 inches. If you are cutting 5 inches, make sure you are cutting the exact 5 inches on your main bodice and on this piece that you'll be using to turn it. I'll go and sew 1/4 inch all around. And for the front, I'll have to add a belt to the waist part. So I've already made my belt. I have a video of this on the channel. You can check it out. Before attaching my belt, I made sure I came up by 3/4 inch, 0.75, and attached the belt. So I'll just have to join the shoulder. But before joining the shoulder, I will place it right side facing each other. The front and the back, right side facing each other. And I'll join at the shoulder. So I'll do all this and I'll come back to show you what I have. So for the gathers, this is what I have for the gathers. I've gathered the 3 of them. So while joining to the layers or upwards, you don't need to flip it over like I just showed you. You have to place it on top, overlap it, not flipping it over and joining. Just overlap by 1 inch. I will overlap it by 1 inch and sew on 1/2 inch, leaving a ruffle or free of about 1/2 inch. So I'll do this to the first layer, then I'll move to the second layer. I'll overlap by 1 inch. So this part is for the front part. Like I said, I divided the whole length. The first one was 44 inches. Then I divided it into 2 to get 22 inches for the front and 22 for the back. So I've already done this for the back and I will do for the front. So this is for the back and I've attached all that. You can see my fray of about 1/2 inch on this. So if you are adding a zipper, you don't need to divide into 2. Just close your zipper and the whole opening at the back. But I do not have a zipper, so that was why I had to divide into 2 to get my front and my back. So for my front, I'll have to turn the neckline and the armhole, but I do not have enough material to help me cut on bias, so I'll just be using a pre-made bias. If you have enough material, please cut your material on bias and use it to turn your neckline and your armhole. So when I finish turning my neckline and my armhole, I will add the first part of my skirt. I'll still overlap it. At this point, you can choose to continue with the overlapping method or you just flip it over and join. I'll add to the second part as well. And when I was done doing that, this is what I have. The front part has been added and the second part has been added because I split my whole length into 2 to have front and back. So I'll go ahead to join this side. I'll flip over and join with 1 inch allowance and our dress will be ready. So I'll come back to show you what we'll have at the end. And at the end, this is the result of what we'll have. This is very lengthy. You can stop at 2 layers if you want, but I want this to be long. I've attached my button loop, and when I open up, the inside is neatly serged because before attaching all this, I've serged all of them. Thank you for watching up to this point, and if you find this helpful, do give me a thumbs up and leave a comment for me on the comment section. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.